Hello everyone, my name is Kat Rozai O'Loughlin. I'm a survivor of encephalitis as a result of a tick bite. It was a delayed diagnosis, which was formally diagnosed October 2024. So it's been a year and a bit. I'm here to share my story and how my brain went strangely funky for a bit, leading up to a very scary episode in which effectively my brain went on fire. 2024 is the year that I can only describe that was written by Hollywood writers. Picture this, the first part of the year felt like a Richard Curtis movie, like Love Actually or another rom-com like My Big Fat Greek Wedding, and the latter half felt like it was written by the writers of Grey's Anatomy and House. I got married on the 1st of August 2024 to my amazing husband. It was the most beautiful day. The sun was shining, everyone was happy, including us, of course. It was just such beautiful memories. And then a couple of days later, we went up to the Trossachs in Scotland for some lovely walks in a lodge with a hot tub. As we delved into late June, I was starting to feel a bit exhausted. I'm a marketing lecturer, so I was doing various things in my role at the time. One was including trying to write an academic paper for a deadline. In any normal academic circumstances, that can be a very stressful time, but I was feeling stressed, I was feeling tired, and a bit confused with the occasional headaches. At the time, I just thought it was work stress. And also, I never got to submit the paper. In late July, we went on our amazing honeymoon. Canada and Alaskan cruise. I know it was very bougie and fancy. When we arrived in Canada, my ear was ringing, tinnitus or tinnitus, whichever way, potato, potato, and I was starting to suffer extreme dizziness. This got worse as we got on the boat, and it felt like labyrinthitis. I've had that a couple of times before, and it felt like a carbon copy. But the doctor prescribed me with medication, and I was starting to feel better. I was almost 100% by the time we arrived back, and it was around early August, mid-August by that point. But throughout August, once the meds had waned off, I was starting to feel a bit more unwell. The fatigue and confusion started to kick in, and the dizziness came back with a vengeance. My GP, from a phone consultation, thought it was vertigo, so I was prescribed with different medication. To some extent it helped, but other symptoms started to emerge by early September. The dizziness became intermittent, along with periods of double vision, and I was falling over a lot. I did look like I was drunk. I nearly said the Scottish word, which is a swear word. Anyway, I was becoming more confused with everything, especially at work, and slurring my words at times. I was also feeling really depressed, which was strange. I just got married. Surely I should be really happy. I'm waiting for someone to come in with a quip about marriage and happiness. But I was feeling agitated at times, and I really couldn't figure out why. Was it the side effects from the vertigo meds? I asked myself at the time. Looking back, I really wasn't myself. I felt like someone was slowly hacking into my brain, recoding it slowly but painfully. I told myself to call the doctor on Monday and just rest for the weekend. Well, my friends, that never happened. Friday the 13th, how ironic. The day was I started to get really unwell, things started to unravel. After a long and exhausting week at work, I was going to my lovely close friend's PhD celebration. I wanted to go to celebrate a great achievement and catch up with friends who were arriving and were visiting, and I was hosting them. Well, that never happened either. Shortly after arriving to the party, I was becoming more vacant. I was there, but I wasn't at the same time, and I was zoning out a lot. I can actually remember all this, which makes it really creepy. I thought I was drunk in my head, but I only had a couple of Prosecco's, but it actually turned out I didn't really drink it at all. But in my head, I just thought I was drunk. And it's amazing how the mind plays tricks on you when the brain itself isn't well. My friends called my husband, and he came to pick me up and took me home. Now, early hours into the Saturday morning, I woke up screaming in pain. I felt like my brain was being stabbed, and I was talking absolute gibberish. My husband called the NHS as he checked my temperature, and it was in the early 40s. It was pretty bad. When the paramedics arrived, I was extremely agitated, which, by the way, is not my normal behaviour, just so you know. I thought I was being arrested by dictators for being drunk. Genuinely, I did. I thought my husband was a dictator. I thought everyone was a dictator. I thought I was being thrown into prison for being Drunk. Again, Nelly said the Scottish word. It was bizarre. I finally succumbed, though, and got to A&E. Things were a bit hazy from then on. I think it was because they were sedating me on various levels, probably so I didn't punch them. But I do remember trying to escape the ward, thinking I was kidnapped or in prison. That happened a few times, apparently, trying to escape the ward. The brain is an interesting machine. I remember at one point there was a number of nurses and doctors attending to me at the same time, and of course I was scared and confused. So this nurse said, to try and distract me, she said, let's talk about our favourite show. Mine is Below Deck. And randomly I went, that's my favourite show. Which is true, it is. Like, my guilty pleasure is Below Deck, and I actually pay a special subscription to watch it. It's an American show. I know, don't judge me. But isn't that amazing, right? I was so senile, I could barely recognise reality, but I remembered Below Deck. Thank you, babes. Totally get you. The next day, Sunday, I woke up staring at what looked like the same time when I fell asleep. Perhaps that was when I was probably sedated to allow the IVs to do their work, all that stuff, funky stuff. I was still very confused, but by then I realised I was in hospital. I was in HDU or ICU for one more day until I was well enough to be moved to infectious diseases. By that point, they ruled out meningitis and knew it was a type of viral encephalitis. When I got to infectious diseases, I stayed there for about 4 or 5 days and gradually started to feel better. Various blood tests were taken. I also had a lumbar, that was horrible. And the MRI scan came back clear. But what I found funny is they said it was unremarkable. My brain, it's like a cheeky beggars. Apparently that means it's a good thing in medical speak, but they could find another way to say it to a patient. Once I passed that and the cognitive test, I was able to go home and recuperate. Now, fast forward a few weeks later into October, my consultant called me and confirmed I was positive for Lyme disease, or Lyme neuroborreliosis was a vicious diagnosis, I believe. After that, I was called back in for a follow-up with the doctors to trace back what we did that summer. So when did that blooming tick bite me? Well, guess what, guys? It turns out that gorgeous mini-moon up in the Trossachs of Scotland is where I'm likely to have been bitten by that ruddy tick. And no, I had no recollection of being bitten. Usually, I have touch dermatitis, so anything that infiltrates my skin, it doesn't like it, it comes back on fire. But no, this one was an insidious little sod. I was off for 4 months to recover from the awful fatigue and trauma over everything that happened. But a lot of this journey was a way of self-discovery. Who am I? Am I back? Am I back to normal? Can I actually get back to what I normally do? The answer was yes, but it had to take time for me to get back to it. And spoiler, I am the most impatient patient you'll ever meet. Hence trying to escape the ward in A&E. So I came back to work early January on a phased return, warmly welcomed by my amazing colleagues and given so much support. I did worry for a while whether I had lost my mojo as a lecturer and indeed my ability to grapple with everyday tasks. It took time, but I'm very fortunate that I work with amazing colleagues, managers and friends who've given me nothing but kindness and support in the workplace. So now I just want to give a few words to those experiencing encephalitis or post-encephalitis, however you like to call it. Be patient with your recovery. Rich coming from me, but anyway. Your brain will take the time it needs, and the more you try to rush back to normality, it'll just delay things. Also, being kind to yourself is important. I personally struggled so much in the early days with the flashbacks, and it took me a while to understand and process it all, and just accept the fact that I wasn't well. That's why I behaved like that. That's why I was awful. It wasn't me, it was this weird tick that was infiltrating my brain. So to the caregivers and loved ones of encephalitis survivors, they really do and appreciate all your love and support. There were times I was still confused about it all, with anxiety and trauma, that I probably wasn't the best of people to be around. And my husband's been amazing with this, absolute hero. Please also continue to be, be patient with the recovery, because they might ask you an abundance of questions to ensure they're okay or to double check on things as they continue to recover. But I'm so thankful to have such an amazing supportive network. My husband's been my hero throughout all of this. My family, my friends, my colleagues have been around to show the love and support throughout this process and still continue to do so. I really want to also proudly state how thankful I am for the amazing support of the NHS staff who helped save me and my noggin. From the paramedics and A&E staff to the doctors and nurses from ICU, neurology, infectious diseases, thank you so much. If it wasn't for the initial research and expertise into encephalitis, Encephalitis International, we wouldn't be here. I'm here as a survivor's pledge to raise awareness and help support the Encephalitis International charity have done so much for us all in this room and beyond. When I found this charity, I joined the group of amazing peer support groups. Big up to Paul at the back there from the Scottish one. And that's why I'm here. I'm stood in front of you all to share my story and continue my survivor's pledge to raise awareness for such a rare but serious condition. Now, where am I now, may you ask? Well, by the time I present this session, I've noted in the script, I'll have done the following. I've moved into my first owned home with my husband. We moved in 2 weeks ago, and I'm the only one that's still to unpack my wardrobe. It's currently all spread out in a room. It's quite something. We completed the 25k Thames trek on the 13th of September. Yes, that's right, a year to the day everything unravelled. It was an amazing experience. I really feel like I've walked off a whole year of recovery and said goodbye to a very traumatic time. And I've managed to get back to a sense of normality, accepting what happened, continuing to support Encephalitis International charity and help raise more awareness. And also on the note of humour, I always take the Monty Python approach, always look on the bright side of life. And I think that's been an amazing part of recovery, laughter being the best source of medicine. But it's been lovely to meet you all here, and thank you so much. Thank you.